Alright, welcome everyone to a new N8N video. Today we'll explain something I consider pretty basic. However, it seems this isn't so easily understood on YouTube, right? It's the common tendency when explaining a new workflow, for example, to just add a new node, okay? Adding a manual node or an AI agent, and then just using the first model we find. Generally, in most tutorials, we see ChatGPT and GPT-4 Mini or GPT 3.5 Mini. These models are used because they consume few tokens and require no configuration. They're left to handle responses or thinking on their own, trusting AI to do it right. But we can actually optimize this process, okay? A trendy process now is adding within the artificial intelligence section under other AI nodes and miscellaneous something called LangChain code, okay? It's a tool that allows us to also link it as an AI agent through models, memories, and tools, okay? But it lets us program these AI tools, deciding when to use one model or another. This allows us to control AI, giving it less freedom and ensuring more precise results that we want. Of course, some results don't need to be precise, and that's fine, but let's be real. In professional work, we want accurate results and to avoid AI hallucinations. What are hallucinations? Basically, it's when AI suddenly gives answers completely unrelated to what was asked. How can we avoid this? Well, we'll be discussing various practices. In this first video, we'll discuss key configurations we should be making, okay? For instance, when we add a new model, we have different options, right? Temperature is rarely discussed, but it's set to 0.7 here. So what happens? A temperature of 0.7, though medium high, is a temperature that generates creativity. Some might be wondering, what is temperature? Temperature is AI's ability to write beyond what we've asked for. The higher the temperature, the more emotional the output becomes. For Tarifa, for example, we want the temperature to be 0. Why? We want AI to be as accurate, precise, and rational as possible in its responses, right? And more efficient. If we're using a WhatsApp chatbot, a temperature of 0.7 might work well as it's more moderate, you know? For creating poetry or metaphorical speech, a higher temp like 1.5 might be what we're after. Got it? Keep in mind that as temperature changes, so do the costs, okay? It's not the same to generate short versus long outputs, right? Another config that's rarely discussed is top P. A top P of 1.0 is generally good, alright? Basically what top P does is control the probabilities, okay? It's used with temperature as they have similar functions, right? Top P focuses more on using interesting, sophisticated language, but if you overdo it and the temperature too, you get gibberish, got it? That's the gist of it, broadly speaking. Other options include limiting token count, which is important, response format if we want it in text, okay? Max retries if it can't give an answer on the first try, alright? This prevents repeated attempts and consuming sections or resources, you see? A timeout, right? Etc., okay? To limit its response, all these often overlooked settings that are quite important. Very well. Another crucial point that's often overlooked is choosing the right model for each task, okay? We often don't realize that within the ChatGPT family, if we look at GPT-4o Mini, we have access to many more models, right? Few people mention that ChatGPT 5 is the version they should be using when it actually is, you know? Because it's the latest version. Or maybe you prefer ChatGPT 4 as it's cheaper, or even 4o Mini, which costs even less, got it? But I've seen tutorials claiming best quality using ChatGPT 4o Mini, which is just the default version of Mini. And you think, come on, with all due respect, the best quality? Let me doubt that, right? Obviously, there'll be tasks where you don't need a ChatGPT 5, okay? Keep this in mind as APIs vary depending on the model. For ChatGPT 5, input costs $1.20 per million tokens. The Mini costs a fifth of that. The Nano, we don't even consider it. ChatGPT 4 costs $3 per million input tokens. Got it? That's for input, okay? Output costs $12 per million token. Here, the output cost, it says $10 here, see? ChatGPT 4o Mini, widely used, has an input cost of 8 cents, not bad. Or the 4 Mini at $4, right? We need to refine what we want, understand? Remember, costs can vary significantly. Costs can fluctuate enormously. We're looking at nearly double, from 80 cents to... yeah. So, we need to look at all these things, what each model does, and so on, right? I get that for a tutorial. It's important to use the 401 model, okay? You were testing, but if you want good answers, it's better to choose a better model, got it? So, without getting into that, it seems you can only use ChatGPT, right? But there are other models, you know? I'm going to talk a bit about what each one is good at, alright? Obviously, we have ChatGPT from OpenAI, which is a leap in deep reasoning and planning, okay? It also has a good balance of cost and speed in terms of processing time and such. Then we have Claude, for example, right? From Anthropic, which is great for agent-based tasks, okay? Coding, long-form reasoning, and so on. And it has pretty good rates too. Next, we have Google Gemini, which stood out for having a very broad context, right? And a price of per million tokens is quite clear. So if you want to see it, okay? The Gemini 2.5 Pro cost per million tokens in dollars. There it is, see? One with 15 for input, okay? It has outputs there. Then we have Flash, which costs 0.30, right? For audio, we see it costs more, plus it has audio support and such. Then there's Grok, used much less, which we can connect via OpenRouter, and it has strong reasoning, traceability, and very little filtering, okay? That might interest us too. For more creativity, maybe ChatGPT-4 or GPT-4 for language quality, Temp 0.7, examples of all, or a Claude 4 with extensive, coherent style and good instruction following, or a Gemini 2X Flash Pro, got it? Low cost for quick iteration of multiple variants, right? For low cost, ChatGPT 5 Mini, GPT 4 Mini, Gemini 2X Flash or 2.5 Pro with caching, or open source, self-hosted options like Mistral or Llama. For low latency, ChatGPT 5 Mini, Claude 4 Haiku, or small local model. For privacy, a Llama 4 or an Azure OpenAI, okay? Each model has its strengths, you see? I've tried to briefly explain what each one does. Right, now I'm going to ask a question that, what's the best model considering all the parameters we can configure and all the families within each model? Okay, within ChatGPT we have GPT-5 and GPT-4 Mini. What's the best model overall? Well, there isn't one, okay? Each model has its price video, which means each model has its own functionality and capabilities. That's why they're called models and aren't all the same, got it? So for example, if we want volume and speed, we might consider a Google Gemini, right? X Flash or a 2.5 Pro with cache, okay? To get more volume, that could be interesting. If we want top-notch quality, a GPT-5 or Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.1 is the best, clearly. We've got it all, you know? I mean, don't think that some folks here might be hearing about these models for the first time, right? That's not ideal. So, what if we want privacy? Well, we can use open source options like DeepSeek, Llama 4 or Mistral, you know. For more privacy, there are even more secure models. Don't just take our word for it. For coding, mix GPT-5 or 4.1 with Grok and others. No need to stick to one model. ChatGPT has ways to pick the best model for a task, like MCP Server or LangChain. And remember, within each model, say you pick the 4 Mini model to summarize Nordic laws and get ChatGPT's take on, or rather you want ChatGPT to cite laws that verify if a document is properly formulated or regulated. You'd be interested in low temperature and a low ceiling, right? If you have a public-facing chatbot, you'd want efficient, quick responses. You'd also want to limit the response length or max tokens to prevent long answers. See where it says -1? What does -1 mean? It means there's no limit, okay? So if you've got unlimited funds and can afford a model that chatters non-stop, that's fine. If you want a WhatsApp bot with ChatGPT's functionality, just accessed through the API, that's possible. So you want to give an entire company access to this chatbot, letting everyone use the model without any limits on messages or tokens? What do you think will happen? Well, the end of month bill is going to be quite a shock. That's what's going to happen, got it? So obviously it's crucial to limit the number of messages. It's important to limit the number of, or responses if you prefer that over message count, the number of responses. It's key to limit token count for optimized answers, or sometimes it's not even necessary. You don't need to use ChatGPT all the time. If you're asking a yes or no question, there's no need to use ChatGPT to check it. There's always the option of using an if statement, right? So N8N seems easy to use, but the real value lies in optimizing repetitive processes. The word optimize means taking an existing process and reducing costs or increasing efficiency, or both. If we're constantly worsening efficiency, like choosing a slow model with high latency or high costs, we're not optimizing as much as we could. I hope you enjoyed this brief reflection. See you in future videos. Remember, the N8N course is linked in the description.